Welcome to the August 2022 Fitchburg Cultural Council meeting. The Fitchburg Cultural Council is a volunteer body that's part of the Massachusetts Cultural Council, and locally we are part of the Fitchburg Cultural Council, which is here at home base at City Hall. We're all volunteers and we're put in place by the mayor's office, and we welcome you, we welcome the public. Thanks for coming today. Keep in mind that everything that we say here is on camera, it's being recorded, and it's going to be available for the public for the future. So keep that in mind with your comments. So today I want to start, first of all, with our membership conversation. We have a couple folks that are timing out. So I wanted to start with Claudia Stevens. She served 2 terms with us, and tonight would have been her last meeting with us, except that her son, Jeffrey Peters Stevens, passed away suddenly. So I thought it would be a good time to do a moment of silence for him and to thank her for her service. So we'll start the moment of silence now. The Fitchburg Cultural Council would like to send our condolences to the family of the Stevens. Claudia, we're sorry for your loss and thank you for your service. Also, we're going to be losing Matt Brunn, who served his time with us. He's going to be timing out as well, so we're going to need a secretary soon. So thank you, Matt, very much for your service here.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
We're also going to be losing Jessie Olson to other things in the community, so we'd like to thank her as well for her service. She's not with us today, but thank you, Jessie, for being part of the council. With that, we have some community members. Thank you, Melanie, for coming. Melanie Zibbett's a local artist who I invited to come. We won't put you on the spot today, Melanie, but we obviously are looking for new members, so if you're interested, let me know. Also, we have a community member with us, and I gave everybody his CV. His name is Joshua Klaus, and the mayor's office recommended him. He's a member of the community, and he's interested in participating more, and he has in the past. So, Mr. Klaus, would you like to come to the podium? Sure. And I know he's prepared a few words for us, so would you like to maybe present the council with a few notes on yourself?
Is this already on?
I believe it is.
Green means go, right?
Yes.
Matt, haven't seen you in a few years.
Wow, how are
I resided in Leominster for the past few decades, but my roots are here in Fitchburg, so that I knew Matt years ago when I was on the school committee. I did prepare just a brief little summary about myself to introduce myself. I am interested in helping you guys out. Tonight's kind of awkward a little bit. I didn't realize that you were losing so many members, and I did read about Peter today in the paper, so that hits close to home to you folks. I have my deepest condolences. So moving on. Dear commissioners, counselors, members, we'll say members. First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you for your consideration. Additionally, I'd like to thank Mayor DiNatale for his recommendation to serve this community in this capacity and give back to my brothers and sisters. I'd also like to thank my family, my husband, and my 15-year-old teenage son, thinking he's 18, for their consistent love and support. My family and I have become proud residents of this community approximately 1 year ago this month. Until then, I have resided in our neighboring city of Leominster my entire life, where I attended public schools, took a special interest in the arts, primarily focusing on theater, of which I was voted most theatrical of my class in 2000. My mother's family is from this community of Fitchburg, and as a grandchild growing up between the two cities, I often found myself here in this city, spending most of my time at the library with my grandparents. It is my belief to always become a part of a community that you live, reside, and work in. I'm also a small business owner. I like to live by example and show my son that when you're part of a community, if you have time, give back. That's why I'm here tonight. To serve my fellow brothers and sisters, to make our home and where we work together a stronger, vibrant, and resilient community with the rich arts, culture, and the common bond to enjoy life. My world, our world, truly is about building relationships, enjoying friendships, and especially during this turbulent time across our nation, love, and of course, our culture. I present myself before you with a wide array of experience, education, and willingness to serve my community. It was my husband and I to call the city of Fitchburg our forever home. My roots go back years, starting with my grandfather and great-grandfather, who built a home on Riffield Road just off of Blossom Street in Ward 4. They designed this home by hand and built it themselves. In addition to the Dental Arts building you might be familiar with by Kmart Plaza. Dr. T-Bear, my grandfather, built and became one of the most prominent oral surgeons on the East Coast of the United States. He retired in '96. He and my grandmother Rose, T-Bear, retired to Ashburnham, where he also designed and built that home with his hands. A form of art, I guess you would say. My mom was the artist of the family. Her name was Adele T-Bear. I invite you all to my home sometime for lunch over the next 3 or 6 years to see and view her artwork, where I pay tribute to her in my hallway. She was not only a talented artist and my mother, she was my best friend. She graduated from St. Bernard's High, attended Greenfield Community College, and majored in art. It was from my mother's side of the family and my mom herself where I grew up with art and culture. I find it fascinating to see such brilliant talent flourish from each person in their own interpretive stroke. The T-Bear family was active in the theater community, performing in musicals and plays at St. Bernard's, their parish St. Camilla's, and later on St. Bernard's. I myself found out in high school I had a niche for a quick tap, a song, and a good eye for design. After attending Fitchburg State University for my undergrad, I later went on to the University of Sedona to research and pursue my theological and spiritual world of metaphysical science. It was through that community I discovered what makes me tick. My passion for research, education, and service to others, I believe, comes from my grandfather, Dr. T-Bear. Not only was he an oral surgeon, art itself, but he was private architect, designing all of his buildings. They all still exist today. My mother, a struggling artist, often took jobs, I'm sure we're all familiar with this, that pay the bills, but it didn't add enrichment to her life. She was consumed by work. She did it as an escape. She found that in her art, the idea of financial freedom was never tangible in my parents' mind, but peace in her heart. Success for them was making sure we had groceries for the week. I became determined that success would not be defined by a monetary value, but community service be a contributing factor to my legacy. I found my mentors and teachers and friendly faces at the library here growing up. I believe I am a spiritual being living a conscious-centered physical life. And I studied my doctorate in conscious-centered living. As an ordained minister, this is my faith. Although not currently practicing due to my professional work life, I remain active in the metaphysical and ministerial communities. I prefer you to call me Joshua and not by my titles, please. Again, thank you for this opportunity to present my candidacy for appointment to what I find necessary and important role to the LCC of the Multicultural Council of Massachusetts. And I believe this is an important role to help distribute the grant monies that the state's holding on to, God knows they hang on to enough, and bring awareness to the arts and culture community. I look forward to answering any of your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Klaus. Would anyone on the council have a question for him?
Well, I do.
Eileen?
I'm Eileen Berger. I'm starting my second 3-year term on the council. Our council's always asking people for input. What should we do more of? What should we do less of? What should we look at? Have you had any chance to think about that and what things you might champion for the council in your membership?
I have taken a look at that. In today's society, we can't exclude technology. It is incorporated, if not embedded, into each of us. I see that the council is in front of the lead compared to a lot of governmental bodies, various sorts. What I mean by that is I saw the survey and I also took it on Google Forms. Reality is Google is a tool, so I see that the council, as it is now, is using the tools to their advantage. As far as community outreach goes, in my opinion, and I did ACE marketing in college, I don't have many more suggestions. I'm disappointed to have learned about the Public Affairs Subcommittee. I think that is, between television and the Facebook, the branding gets people's attention. It stands out amongst all the news feeds across the various social media platforms. The only thing I could offer really is have surveys at every possible event that the council has approved grants for. Just quick little 4x4 slips or something. And make like a table that would stand out. So that's just one idea off the hip, but you guys are doing it as best you can.
Thank you. Thank you. I think Joe had his hand up second.
Oh. Hi, Joshua. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Joe.
I'm Joe Bowen. I'm the ex officio member of the Cultural Council, former chair, served for 6 years
And
so
you're
far.
famous on television. I saw you.
That can happen from time to time, yes. I just had a question for you. I didn't get a chance to catch up with my fellow councilors here, but before you had visited up with us tonight, did you sit down and get an understanding of the time commitment for meetings and events that we get involved in? And if so, are you able to meet those commitments?
That's a great question. The last thing we want is a volunteer to get possibly stressed out and not know what they're getting into. I did speak with the chair of the council, and I was informed of the time commitment. My availability every day is after 2. I guess the great thing about working for yourself is you make your own schedule, right? So this is my way of giving back to the community. I understand, and from what I reviewed on the Multicultural Council state site, I can kind of see the timeline of the process. So that I understand there's going to be a crunch period. In reality, it's, for me, if I relate almost 20 years ago, it's very similar to the school department budget that if we do our homework, you're doing it right. This is a little more involved, and I get that. But I do believe my expertise and my time availability would work just fine for y'all.
Okay, great, thank you. I just wanted to be sure that it was reviewed with you. For members of the council, I will cease my speaking at this point, but I would like to recommend that we send Joshua to the mayor's office for appointment. Thank you.
Thank you. Audrey?
Thank you.
Yeah, so on a similar note, just for clarification, you're available every third Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. for our meetings?
Absolutely.
Excellent. And that you would be available for additional 2 to 4 meetings November through December. That would be about 2 hours long each for our grant review meetings.
Yes.
Excellent. Do you have any interest in social media, bookkeeping, event organizing, or graphic design?
Event organizing, between my own campaign years ago, other campaigns, and of course the school department in Leominster, and having a son, Cub Scout leader, Rotary Club member, I've done a lot of events. As far as social media goes, I'm trying to get my son off of it. I try to put it down as much as I can, but I do have I can't lie, I do have knowledge, very, very good knowledge of that stuff.
Thank you very much, Mr. Klaus.
Thank you.
We also have with us AJ. Oh, sorry.
I think you should move to a vote.
I should move to a vote. Do we have enough quorum now? Okay, so we'd like to make a, we'd like to send a recommendation to the mayor's office to have Mr. Klaus appointed to the Fitchburg Cultural Council. Could I get a motion from the,
I'll make a motion to recommend Joshua to the Fitchburg Cultural Council.
Second?
so we have a motion from Audrey and a second from Casey. Anyone speaking to the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Klaus, for coming today. We'll send a letter to the mayor's office, and they referred you to us just so the council knows. So we're very happy that you came today. We'd like to invite Mr. AJ Turigny to the stand now. Everybody knows AJ, but AJ, just so the council knows, I have asked the mayor's office if we could possibly have somebody from the university on the council since we're losing Matt. And it's a really good connection, provided space possibilities as well as printing for the Fitchburg Open Studios. So I've asked if it was possible that AJ could be with us, and AJ, maybe you can give us an update on what's happening and if you're available, and if anyone has questions, certainly we'll go in an order again.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Tamar. And good evening, members of the council, and of course, the general public for viewing at home. And thank you to FATV, as always, for supporting every community group that's out there and making sure that messages are getting out to the general public. For those who don't know, my name is AJ Turigny, resident of Fitchburg. I am the special assistant to President Lapidus over at Fitchburg State University and a colleague of Matt Bruin's. Previously, I was in the private sector for 2 years, and prior to that, I was the chief of staff to Mayor DiNatale, and that's where I had my experience working with the Fitchburg Cultural Council in several capacities, whether it was working with individual groups that were applying for grants, working with the Cultural Council on nominating those who to receive grants, and I was heavily involved with the creative economy and the vision that the university and certainly the city started back in 2015 when President Lapidus became president and when Mayor DiNatale became mayor. And I think that we have all seen that transcend down over the past several years to the point that we are today, where the the idea of a creative economy is no longer an idea. I think the city and the university are hand in hand in actually implementing it, and we can see those physical changes on Main Street. So I didn't have anything prepared like Mr. Klaus did, but counselors, if you have any questions, I'm happy to entertain them.
Any questions, Audrey?
Same questions that I asked Joshua.
Sure.
Are you able to commit to 4:30 p.m. 4:30 to
Yes.
5:30 p.m. every third Tuesday?
Yes.
Excellent. Are you available for the additional grants review
Absolutely.
meetings?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any interest in social media, bookkeeping, event organizing, or
Yeah, same answer as Joshua.
event organizing? Yes.
Yeah,
social
event
media.
organizing, I got that one under my belt. And then, of course, social media, I try to do my best to steer away, but I understand its importance and how it can help share a message.
Fair enough. And why do you want to join the Fitchburg Cultural Council?
Oh, for the same reasons that I provided. I think Fitchburg has really done an excellent job of kind of using the Worcester model and trying to change our economy, but at the same time, we're inviting new groups of people that we haven't experienced before, help build Fitchburg to the city that it once was, to be something that's much larger and really embrace who we are. So I think the Cultural Council has been an important part of the state budget, as we all saw most recently with the governor, and I think the state is headed in that direction as well, and I'd love to be a part of it. And as an aside, too, Fitchburg State University's investment of the theater block ties in well with the vision that FCC is trying to do.
Anyone else? Questions? So we'll take another vote. I would like to get a vote on the table to recommend AJ to the mayor's office.
I'll second it.
I didn't make a motion. I need a motion.
Just a vote.
So Shara made the motion,
I'll second.
I make the motion, yes.
and a second from Audrey. Anyone speaking to the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much, AJ.
Thank you for your time, and I apologize I can't stay. I have another meeting over at In Town. So thank you, folks. Have a great evening.
But that won't be the case when you join the council, right, AJ?
Thank you guys so much. So the members of the public, you're welcome to stay if you'd like to see the rest of the meeting. So we're going to carry on. So that's the members section of the meeting. I have a number of minutes in front of you. I hope everybody has a copy that we need to get voted in just so I can file them. So we have the public input meeting minutes from Thursday, the 21st of July. the PR subcommittee minutes from July 5th, the regular meeting minutes from Tuesday, June 22nd, and the PR subcommittee from Tuesday, June 7th. So we could do this as one motion if possible.
I do have an adjustment on one.
Can I get a motion first? Before we make adjustments?
What's the motion?
To accept them. And then we can take a second and then,
So
I
someone
would like
needs
to make a motion to
right?
do it individually because I do have a suggestion on at least one.
I'll take a motion. Audrey?
I was going to motion that we take them all three together, and then during discussion, if there are any changes, we can put them in there. I think that we have a lot to do today, and that'd be the fastest way to do it.
Thank you, Eileen. So we have a motion from Eileen. Anyone want to make a second?
I'll second that motion.
We have a second from Shara. Anyone speaking to the motion? Audrey?
Yeah, on, let's hear, which PR subcommittee one? It was June 7th. It says Tamar called the meeting to order. It should probably say Audrey called the meeting to order.
Okay.
I think that was my only note that I saw.
Okay. So Eileen, could you make an amendment to your motion?
Yes, I will motion again that we cover all three, that we vote on all three, including Audrey's amendment to the motion.
It's 4.
4, okay,
Yeah,
4.
Okay. Can I have a second to accept all 4 with one adjustment on the Tuesday, June 7th PR subcommittee minutes?
Second?
A second from Casey. Anyone speaking to the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. I can file those. That's great. All right, next is the most important part of the meeting. So I hope, I know one of us has to leave early, Joe, so we'll try to get this done before he has to go. So the public input results came in, and Casey and Audrey did a lot of work organizing them. And I believe one of you is going to give us a quick summary of basically what we got from the public. And then we'll take last year's. I'd like to make a couple amendments to last year's, and then we can get those voted in today as well. So who would like to speak? Was it Audrey or Casey?
I don't care.
Okay, I can speak.
Thank you.
So the main takeaways from our public input survey were we reached way more people who had not heard about the council than last year. So really good work, everyone. Very impressive. We reached way more people in general. Let me see. Most of that was from public events, so I believe that is going to be the best way to move forward with our input dispersal.
Can I add to that?
Outreach, I guess? Yes.
And most of those were ones that we were flyering and handing out surveys at. So great job, everyone who volunteered to do that. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
The in-person work really pulled through. As far as council priorities, it appears statistically that residents want programming aimed at lower-income communities, those with physical and mental health priorities or barriers, families, and communities of color or BIPOC individuals. Let me see. We should look for programming that centers around community gatherings, events, art beautification projects. There was a really good response whether or not we were directly involved in this. The CMI paint parties got a really, really great response from the community, and that did show up in our surveys. So that's something to take into account for sure. There's also a lot of evidence that leads towards the idea that people who live in Fitchburg are looking for a reason to love Fitchburg. You know, they want to have pride of place. They want to be proud and, I'm not sure how to put this. They want to be proud of where they're from, but it needs to be rational. You know, people need to have a reason to be proud of where they're from. That makes sense.
Makes
And
sense.
that's, yeah, and that's what people are looking for. And we do have the ability to give people this, at least partially. They're looking for tangible, solid reasons to love Fitchburg, essentially. Let me see. The residents are looking for solutions for things like happiness, livability, and group strength in the community through strong progressive and educational community programs, things that inspire interconnectedness, things that encourage interconnectedness, programs that are visible and accessible as far as the marketing goes. So that's something that actually you brought up in your introduction to us. This is very exciting. People are looking for more minority representation and support for minority groups in the events that we hold and the programs that we do. And they're looking for solutions to underfunded and inaccessible education. And that is, again, programs, events, stuff that's not specifically and directly linked to the Cultural Council, but something to take into account is the community members that fill the survey out see it as a like a Fitchburg-based survey more than a Cultural Council-based survey. So some of this stuff we can affect and some of it we unfortunately can't, but I think it's our responsibility to do what we can. So definitely taking all of those things into account. Organizers need to work much harder on actively increasing representation, again, of marginalized groups through culturally diverse events and projects. We need to see organizers this year educating themselves on equitable practices and implementing these practices in their programs and events. So we should consider looking at what organizers are willing to do to prove tangibly that their events and programs are open and welcoming to minorities as well as majorities. And organizers need to involve residents outside their usual social circles, doing obvious community outreach, which we do see a lot of the time, but sometimes there is no community outreach, and it's important to hold our organizers accountable. For 2022-23 grant giving guidelines, we should be reflecting a continued commitment to virtual programming, promotion to and with underrepresented communities, and regional focus on the city of Fitchburg specifically. Perhaps the greater North Central Mass region, but there was a lot of responses saying like, focus just on Fitchburg, don't worry about anyone else right now. You know, this is our city, let's focus on this for now. And I believe that was the breakdown of major takeaways. I know a lot of it was repetitive, but that also is great for
good.
driving home the points. Do we have any questions?
I have a comment. I went through all of those. It was a dizzying array of things people want us to do. And in fact, you know, we couldn't do, you know, with a $45,000, $50,000 budget every year, we're not going to get at that. But what I did see was that we're doing a lot of things they're telling us to do. If you look through our list of grants last year, we really had poverty and you know, community, we had all the communities represented. I don't think people understand all that. I disagree that we want to do more virtual programming. What people want is stuff that will bring them into Fitchburg and make Fitchburg a point on the map. We heard that loud and clear, not this year, but last year when people said, let's put Fitchburg on the map. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And you're not going to do that with virtual programming. I think that we should look at this whole dizzying array of stuff that we're supposed to do, and we should pick out 3 things that not only do we want to work on, maybe only one thing, but, you know, maybe 3 things at the most that we really want to work on for this year. Publicize the fact that, okay, you sent us your information, we got your input, we can't do everything, but these are the things that reach us, and we're going to do this, and then at the end of the year, talk about how we had done that. I think that's how we get our message out.
Audrey?
First, I want to thank everyone who filled out a survey to let us know what you want in arts, science, humanities, and culture in Fitchburg. It's really helpful. We will be passing on the results to several different organizations in Fitchburg. So even if it can't be covered by a Mass Cultural Council, local cultural council, grant this year, or it's not within our eligibility, hopefully another organization in Fitchburg can take that on, and hopefully gives cultural organizations ideas of things that people are looking for. First, I want to clarify some things in the summary. I found that it was less of people wanted a commitment to virtual programming, and more that those who did want more requirements for virtual programming were supportive and appreciated a hybrid option. But there were a lot of people that didn't respond or also do not like virtual programming. I just think that perhaps more clarification of if you are going to apply for a program that is virtual, that there should be more Fitchburg-centered, that their application should show that they are Fitchburg-centered. And also for demographics, instead of physical disabilities as being one of the priorities, it was those with trauma or mental health issues. Those were the top ones.
Ready for me? Anybody? Liz?
I just wanted to say thank you to Casey and Audrey for taking the vast amounts of time that I'm sure it took to digest all of those surveys, but also to champion the surveys to make sure that they get out in the community in a variety of different ways. And I really appreciate that, because I'm not sure, I mean, that's a big undertaking. I don't know that I could have done that. Can you tell us how many responses we got?
We got 79 responses.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's pretty amazing.
and I'm really excited that we reached a lot more people that did not know about the Fitchburg Cultural Council than previous years, because in previous years, we only did surveys during the public input meeting and sent out links on social media. This year, we went to community events all over, and my goal was to reach more people that didn't know about the Fitchburg Cultural Council so that they would learn about us, and also learn about all the amazing, wonderful things that are happening in Fitchburg.
Do we have the response in a format that we could put on our webpage?
Oh yeah, absolutely. All of these we can make public, and I am going to share that. I was intending to turn them into infographics, but for now I'll just send send our documents and make those live so that anyone can look through them.
Do you want to make the adjustments before you make them live?
Okay, Eileen, one more
I'd
comment?
like to make a motion that we accept the report, which, I'm sorry, I went blaring out with what I was thinking, but it really was good work. It really was good work. But I'd like to make a motion that we accept the report and we commit to 2 or 3 things that we're going to focus on this year, and that's how we publicize the report. Okay, we had, the highlights of the report, and then this year we're going to do this.
Before we make any motions, I
Sorry,
have a couple
Madam
comments.
Chair, point of order. There is a motion on the table. She can seek a second,
Okay.
and then you can speak to the motion.
Fair. Anyone want to make a second? So repeat the motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the report as it is, it's a good piece of work, and that we commit to 2 or 3 items on the report that we're going to commit to this year, and then we're going to report on how we did. And that will be that's a long motion, I'm sorry. That will be how we communicate the findings of a report with a commitment to push on these things for this year and each year do something good. And I'm happy to write the press release.
That's wonderful. Would anyone like to make a second motion to Eileen's first motion? To Eileen's motion, which is to accept the report as it is, to make a commitment to make 3 priorities
Yes.
out of that report that we commit to for this year, and to track our efforts.
Yes, and to communicate this that way, that we've committed to this and track our efforts.
Can I just make one amendment
We
to
need a
that?
second
Oh,
I'm sorry, we have a motion on
You
the
need a
table.
motion
I'll
first.
second that.
Thank you, Liz. Would anyone like to speak to the
Can I
motion?
speak to?
Yes, Shara.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to make one amendment to that statement, Eileen, to up to 3. just to say up to 3 topics or items that we
Good,
want to
Good, that's a good
focus on.
amendment.
So if we find that one thing is really compelling, more than the others, we could have 3, but I would say up to 3.
Up to 3, okay, good, I like that.
So would you like to redo your motion
Would I like to
based on
read-
the amendment from Shara?
Okay, the motion as now is that we accept the report of the Input Committee, good work, that we commit to up to 3 suggestions on this report that we're going to devote ourselves to this year, that we communicate the report, not merely that we finished it, but that we've committed to this, and that we report at the end of the year how well we've done.
Would anyone like to second the motion?
Oh, I'll second that again.
Liz?
And I would like to speak to that motion. Sorry. I do have suggestions of what we should write as our priorities, because we do need to confirm that tonight. But I would suggest we choose 3 for the target audience or demographic, and 3 types of programs.
Well, wait a minute, that's another motion, Audrey. I don't even think we should think about this now. I think we should take that.
Oh, we have to think about it today.
We can do it, why do we have?
Point of order, please. Only one
Yes,
person should
we
be
have-
speaking through the chair. Thank you.
Yeah, we have priorities from last year. So those need to be amended for this
Oh,
year.
all right, I didn't realize
But
that.
what you're suggesting is wonderful. So the 3 items that you're suggesting could be very neatly organized into our existing priorities, which we need to do next.
But, so my adjustment was 6.
Well, it's another motion, though. It's an entirely different
is.
thought
It
process.
is.
So I'm suggesting that we do this, the motion that ate Detroit right now, and then think about what our priorities are going to be, because it's too much for one thing.
Okay,
Well-
so we have a motion on the table from Eileen. We have a second from Liz. Audrey, we had your comments. I'd like to move to a vote, and we
Can I
can,
clarify what I meant by it?
yeah.
So part of the motion was to choose 3 priorities. My suggestion is
Up
that we
to.
choose
Up to,
up to 3 priorities. My suggestion is choose 3 demographics and 3 types of projects to prioritize.
Is
So
that
that would be a
9?
total of 6.
is that 9 for
All right, thank you for your comment, Audrey. So let's take a vote now. So we have Eileen's motion on the table. We have Liz as a second. We've heard Audrey's comment. All in favor of accepting Eileen's suggestion to accept 3 priorities from, and accepting the survey
Communicate the priorities and measure the priorities.
and track them. All in favor?
Aye. What?
Can I speak?
Yes.
Okay.
Liz?
I think the reason I didn't vote for it is because I understand what Audrey's saying, and she's kind of pulling out the demographics, the populations that we want to reach from programming. And I like that addition. I think when I think about your motion, I think about the programming more than the demographics necessarily. So I would have approved that if we then had a separate motion that talked about the demographics separately. But I think there's opportunity to have that be the one motion.
So I'd like to jump in now and talk about our
So
existing.
instead of 3
Go ahead.
programs, it would be 3 demographics we'd take to work on.
Well, can I stop the conversation
confusing.
here? So we have in existence every year a priority list, and I thought everyone had a copy of that. The priority list is 7 points. It also lists our requirements and then some notes. So what we're doing this year, based on the survey that came in, is not that different from what we've done in the past. In fact, what's really interesting about the second item, which basically from previous years said the priority would be given to applicants reaching teens, the disabled, people of color, special attention to teens, low income, and immigrant communities. What we got this year was a broader scope of the community. This year, we got mental health, which was a topic for conversation. We got seniors this year. We got professionals, young professionals this year. We had a mention of the LGBTQ community. So what I would like to do is now, think about our existing priorities. They're not that much changed based on what the community said to us. I think there's a couple of amendments that we could make to the existing priorities to make them a little fresh for this year. From last year, we also included the Zoom streaming platforms. That was included, so that should be included again. For publicity, we talked about last year marketing, outreach outside of Fitchburg, prioritizing events where PR was included. Again, this is the same as what people are requesting this year. We also offered to support fund-based funding, which has to do with residencies, programming for supplies, cultural programming, day-to-day operations for artists. The thing that I noticed that was missing from last year, which we did have suggested this year, was a larger focus on public art projects, on murals, and on beautification. And in the number 4 item, we don't have those things listed, so those things could be added. And then this number 2, which talked about the community, seems to me what everyone wants is the community. They're asking for different sections of the population be funded, be supported. It's everyone. It's not just seniors, it's not just low income, it's not just ethnic communities. All of those communities have been requested to have support.
Yeah, well, I'm not disagreeing. I'm simply saying that where we've missed the boat over the years is not communicating ahead of time what our top priorities are and then following up and saying how we met them. And I think that's one of the reasons why people haven't heard about us. And so my motion really has to do with that. Communicating what our top priorities are this year. They might be something different next year, but based on what we learned this year, and then following up on it.
Joe?
I have a few things to say before I get into that. I really want to thank Audrey and Casey for putting together the survey information. It is.
Could you talk in the
You can't hear me?
Could you talk in the microphone? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me okay now?
Now I can.
Oh, awesome. I just wanted to thank Audrey and Casey for putting in the work to bring the survey to life. It gets better every year, and the insights are incredible. I did want to ask quickly, though, the bulleted items under the survey responses, were those verbatim from the survey entries?
Yeah,
Okay.
copy paste.
Okay, great. I just wanted to ask that clarification. The next thing I do want to talk about the priorities, and we do, as a cultural council, every single year we do advertise what our priorities are. We have voting meetings on that, so we're quite transparent about that. To my fellow councilors' point that we probably would do better in following up on that, I agree wholeheartedly. That is something that we probably should do and show that we've been able to meet the priorities that were provided to us in prior years. We could even do that historically if the public is interested. So I believe that we have as well during the course of the time I've been on the council. What I would suggest that we do is that we take a look perhaps and go section by section of last year's priorities, since we seem to be jumping around into different topics. Go from section to section and come to an agreement on where we would like to categorize those priorities going forward. And that way we can just stay on one topic at a time. Thank you.
Thank you. That seems fair. So we'll start with priority number 1 from last year. It says priority will be given to applicants who live or work in Fitchburg and/or who offer programs and presentations that specifically benefit a wide range of audiences in the Fitchburg community. I feel strongly that this is the same as last year. It's the same this year, where everyone's requesting we focus on our community, which is Fitchburg.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we could take a motion to accept last year's, and then obviously if there's comments, we get to that after the second motion. So could we have a motion to accept priority number 1 as written from last year?
Motion to accept priority number 1 as written from last year.
Thank you, Casey. Anyone want to make a second?
Second?
Thank you, Eileen. Anyone speaking to the motion? Audrey?
I vote that we remove the words "a wide range of audiences" in, because the next bullet point will be our target demographic. So it kind of seems like that they disagree with one another.
Okay, so then it would read, priority will be given to applicants who live or work in Fitchburg and/or who offer programs and presentations that specifically benefit the Fitchburg community. Could I have a motion to accept that?
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
Casey needs to amend her motion.
Thank you, Casey.
I would like to amend my motion to Audrey's motion.
Amend the motion to
Amendment?
priority will be given
Yes.
to applicants who live or work in Fitchburg and/or who offer programs and presentations that specifically benefit the Fitchburg community.
And also another point of order, if everyone can speak slow, Matt is taking minutes,
Yeah, I
so.
can't keep up.
Hard to keep up.
Where are you reading those from, Tamara?
We do not have printed copies of the priorities
I
in
know.
front of us.
Yeah.
Do they exist in the
It's in the
shared
drive.
It is on our shared drive.
Yeah.
Isn't it our mission anyway? You know,
There-
so why do we have to make it making it a priority makes it sound.
Well, we have to accept them for this year, so, for the new grant
We can
I
cycle.
think
accept
it's saying that we're going to prioritize applicants who live or work in Fitchburg and that their programs specifically are Fitchburg. And I think we just need to include that in our, like, even if it is our mission statement, we need to include it in our council priorities so that our applicants know that and include it in their.
But there's a way of writing that without making it seem like, well,
Do you have a suggestion? A suggestion of how to reword it?
I don't know. My initial motion had more to do with communications than anything else. I think we should be communicating more, not just about, we did this input thing. I have to say that it was very well done, Casey and Audrey and I did too. We're out handing them out in the community and we got them back. So those people are going to want to know, well, what happened to what we said? So we have to put out some kind of communique saying, all right, this is what we found out, this is how it worked, and this is what we want to do. That's all I'm saying. And I think we should pick out some priorities aside from our mission statement, which is to promote art in the city of Fitchburg. We should pick some other, maybe the priorities have to do with audiences. We're going to work harder on this audience this year or something like that.
Eileen, let's vote on those priorities. Let's decide
Not as
them
part
right
of this.
now.
I'd rather do this.
Sorry, point of order.
We don't have time today.
Point of order, please, Madam Chair. Only one counselor should be speaking at a time and as recognized by the chair. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I can't hear that well. So where are we?
We
Can't
are
you
on
just
number
take the
one.
Motion, or nobody likes it? Nobody likes the fact
No,
that we should
I think
communicate
it's a
this?
great idea, Eileen. I don't think we need a vote that we will market and promote our results, but I think it's a really great idea because we did not do that in previous years of recapping the community after our grant season of what we funded and how that applied to the public input meeting.
Yeah.
I think that's a really great idea. But I don't think we need to vote on it, but we do need to vote on our priorities because they need to be in by September 1st.
Yeah, we need to actually finish it today. I hope we can. So back to number one. Casey, could you restate your?
Yes, motion to approve the first priority as priority will be given to applicants who live or work in Fitchburg and/or who offer programs and presentations that specifically benefit the Fitchburg community.
Anyone like to
About our
second?
mission statement is
Excuse
what I'm
me,
asking.
excuse me.
What's different about this?
This is our document that we have every year,
Yeah,
and they're the priorities that exist. They've existed as long as I've been around. We amend them every year, and we revote them into order, and then that's what helps the grantees know what they can apply for. That's the bottom line. So grant cycle opens to the public, which the public should know, 9/1. And when that opens, they need to read this to know what we're willing to fund. So, for example, if somebody in Winchendon wants to apply for Fitchburg money, they need to know whether or not we're going to fund them and if it's going to support
We've
Fitchburg
been
residents.
doing that all along, have
Yeah.
we not? Yes.
Yeah, so we have to do this cycle every year.
Oh, all right. Well, I
So-
didn't
That's
know
why
we
we
had
give out
to
a survey
reaffirm our
every year.
mission statement every year.
It's not the mission, this is the priorities for the grant cycle specifically. Nothing to do with our council at large, really. This is really specific to the people that will apply starting 9/1.
Tamar,
Yes.
can I make a comment? Would it make sense to take each priority and then go back and read that statement and then go back to Casey and Audrey and like kind of focus on the results for that particular priority? Like, the next one is about the demographics, right? So they could kind of remind us about what the results with the demographics were, and then we could vote on that.
It would, except I was trying to finish this by 5:30. So I'm not exactly sure how we want to work this, if we need to schedule another meeting. and have everybody prepared so that we can actually do the entire document with one vote versus going one by one. So is the council available to do this again next Tuesday so we can all be on the same page and prepared?
I am available, but I also have I have it written out as suggestions, and we could vote on those suggestions, because they're already written.
Well, I already have last year's, and I wanted to use last year's.
That's just a
So,
point of order.
yeah.
Whatever we discuss or share with each other in a quorum, we need to do in a public meeting space.
Mhm.
So here or on TV or what have you. So I think it's great to want to share that information, but we should do that at the next meeting, whatever time we can all schedule to be there.
So we have 10 minutes left before the end of the meeting. We do have quorum today. I hate to have us have to do another meeting. I don't think we can get through all 6 points and the edits at the bottom, the requirements, the notes on funding, and the grant trainings in 10 minutes. So I think we're going to move on since we have a few people here today. I need a vote for the Fitchburg Open Studios funding for the signage. I have a amount of $698.80 that I need approved to be able to get the signage for Fitchburg Open Studios. And this is from Alpha Graphics in Shirley. They provided all this printing for the signage last year. So I'd like to get a motion on the table.
How much is that for?
$698.80, and this is for the street signs and all the vinyl to cover the old signs that'll be given to the artists later this month.
I make a motion that we approve the funding of this $698.80 to Alpha Graphics for the signage for the Fitchburg Open Studios.
I second the motion.
So we have a motion on the table to accept the $698.80 for the Fitchburg Open Studios signage from Shara, and I have a second from Eileen. All in favor? Anyone speaking to the motion?
I'd like to
First,
speak to the motion.
Casey?
How does that price compare to last year's?
That's a good question. I wasn't prepared with that information. I don't remember.
Is it being paid for through the registration fees and?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh,
She said, is it paid through the registration fees?
like what budget is it coming out of?
Oh, it would be
Yeah.
our locally raised funds, yeah.
Excellent.
Do you anticipate additional expenses before the day of?
I don't.
Okay.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. The next thing is I just want to make a note for the public. We want to thank Enterprise Bank and Cheryl Gaudreau, who gave us $100 towards our Fitchburg Open Studios event. I have a couple other letters out in the public, so we'll see what happens. I wanted to take a vote on FCC TV. It sounds like we might need to take a hiatus, but I thought we could vote on that. Audrey, do you have a quick comment on that?
No, I'll just make a motion that we should put FCC TV on hiatus/cancellation.
Anyone want to second the motion?
Second.
So we have a motion to cancel FCC TV for the time being. And Audrey made the first motion, Casey the second. Anyone speaking to the motion?
I will say that it has been wonderful working with FATV, the opportunity that they've given us to highlight our grantees and have a talk show. Casey has done a phenomenal job hosting, and Tamar and Eileen have guest hosted, as well as Derek Cruz when he was on the council. It's been really cool doing it, but it is a lot of work, and our council's getting smaller. I think it makes sense to go on a hiatus.
And we want to thank Claudia. She helped as well in the green room.
Yep, and Matt has been phenomenal as a crew member, as well as Samuel Luxema, who is on our council but is not here today. Tamar has been crew.
You've been.
Yeah, I was producing and live editing and post editing. Directing. It's been a lot of fun, but yeah, I appreciate everyone that has crewed regularly and also who has come in to help occasionally too. And thank you, FATV, especially Jared, Nate, and Dan, who has helped us out a lot.
Thank you guys very much. It was amazing. So we have a motion on the table from, I believe, Audrey, was it? And a second from Casey? Okay, all in favor?
I also have a comment to make.
Oh,
if that's all
okay.
right.
I have a
Yes,
comment.
and we have one comment from Casey.
Definitely interested in putting it on hiatus and not fully canceling is where I stand on that, and that is my comment.
I'll make one more comment as well.
Shara had her hand up.
Yeah, I actually want to speak to the same thing. I think it's really a good idea to be on hiatus and not totally sever that tie, because hopefully we'll have more members on the board and be able to have that happen without people burning themselves out.
Sure.
I hope so too. So all in favor of putting it on hiatus? Oh, another comment?
Yeah. There is also, I guess this would technically be a second motion, but it's related to FCC TV. Do you want me to just make the comment after voting?
Let's vote first.
Yeah.
So all in favor of putting it on hiatus for now?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you, FATV. Does it have to do with that?
Yes.
Okay.
There is the opportunity to continue doing PSAs. So if for our upcoming events of Fitchburg Open Studios and Creative Meet and Greets and the Winter Bazaar, we might want to do PSAs. It would just be a matter of collecting 3 of us, in which one person's talent, one person's teleprompter, and one person can do the live editing. And if we want to organize that, we can. I would be willing to come in and help out. But yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to one more vote. The PR subcommittee needs a chair, or there was discussion of dissolving that and bringing it back into the main council. So I just want to take a vote on that, so it's official. Audrey?
I make a motion to put the Public Relations Subcommittee on hiatus.
I second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion from Audrey to put the PR subcommittee on hiatus. A second from Eileen. Anyone speaking to the motion? You guys did an amazing job.
Yes, and I would say both of these are reflective of the fact that we have a couple of people doing a lot of work, and you can only do that for so long before you get a little burnt out on it. And so hopefully there'll be opportunities to breathe in a little bit of new life into those activities in the future. And we're not saying that we're not going to do it again.
And if those who are, joining our council newly, would like to bring back the PR subcommittee, because I think it is important. We will continue doing those things behind the scenes. We just won't meet for it, or, I will probably continue posting on social media, continue updating our community calendar and all those things. We will just do those discussions during the large council meeting, and so that we don't have to meet twice a month. And also, a lot of the PR subcommittee was the large council, most of the large council.
Most of the large council. Thank you very much. So we had a motion on the table from Audrey and a second from Eileen to put the PR subcommittee on hiatus for the time being. So all in favor? Thank you very much. And we don't have time for the rest of the agenda tonight. Thanks everybody for attending today, for your hard work. We really needed a quorum today. So I will send around a note, but I'm going to suggest.
Before we do this, can I
Yes.
ask a question?
Uh-huh.
Liz and I are going tomorrow to meet with the people at the Thirsty Robot, who are really excited about hosting us right before the FOS. Audrey says we have to have the council approve that. Is that right?
To have the event,
To have the event?
technically.
The location.
Do we want to do one more vote quickly?
I don't think do we have creative meet and greet on the agenda?
Well, I'd hate to have to come back and say, I'm sorry, the
That's
council
true.
didn't approve it. We thought it was a good idea, but.
Yeah, when I asked you to reach out to them, it was to reach out on whether or not they were available for those dates, not confirming the event. But yeah, I think maybe we can include it in the agenda for next week.
Yeah, I'm sorry to make everyone meet next week, but if you can you please do Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
it's Tuesday,
Tuesday at 5.
same, you said 5,
Not
We do-
4:30?
4:30?
We do 4:30, yeah.
And it depends on the city hall and FATV if we can use the space. I may have to do
Could you
Zoom.
send out a message saying
Yep.
what it is that we're going to be talking about, so we can come well-prepared?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I can call you on it too. Okay, so I think that's it. If we don't need to vote on anything else, it's 5:30.
It is 5:30.
It is 5:30. All right, I'd like to have a motion on the table to adjourn. It's 5:30 PM.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion
I
to
second the
adjourn
motion.
from Audrey. And Shara made a second. Anyone speaking to the motion? See you guys next week. Adjourned.